Well, howdy, howdy, Green Team. I'm excited to be hanging out with you today. My interview today is with Doug Goodfeather about his book, Think Indigenous. And we're just kind of going with the flow here, trying to fit this in today with all kinds of crazy stuff happening. So we decided to just hop on early and make it happen. So thank you so much, Doug, for being flexible and for making this happen today. So good morning.
Good morning.
Really nice to see you. All right. So I first met Doug at a powwow that the Healing Hoop powwow in Denver, Thornton, I guess, and I know that that's still happening after maybe a break for COVID, but that will be coming back strong with your work with the Lakota Way Healing Center. But do you want to give a quick introduction? I was so excited to see this book coming out because I think for a lot of us that understand that the indigenous, the people living the closest to the land, that have that sense of what it is to be part of the cycle of life and to be a responsible part of it, that's the indigenous communities, and that is what we've lost in the last several hundred, maybe longer years. And it's pretty difficult to know where to go to respectfully get that information and to practice it for those of us who didn't grow up with that. So I'm very excited about the book and would be interested to know a little bit about why you decided to write this, Doug.
Well, yeah, pile waste chichapi, biaka waste milo. Ape pile kante waste you hapo. Hello, my name is Doug Goodfeather. Good morning to all of you. My heart to you. Um, I guess I was trying to write this book a while ago, probably about maybe 2006. I was trying to write it, but I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't um, nourished enough, I guess, to have the wisdom I needed to have put in this book. So it didn't come out until I started writing it in 2014. And a friend of mine and friends of mine helped me do this by taking taking my words and putting them into the book and experiencing from my my past and my upbringing and the way I was raised and how I utilize it today into this modern world. And it really has fulfilled my life so much that I wanted to share it. It has helped me and guided me and prepared me in many ways for a lot of things that have come into my life. These ways that I live and that I was raised with really were instilled in me. And I was having a lot of when I, I was in the military and I'm a combat vet. So when I came back, I struggled with a lot of PTSD, and so I had to find my way back into my peace, my life, I guess, because I was really having a hard time with my life. Even lost my marriage and everything. I understand that, though. I understand. I respect that decision because I did change, but I had to make myself better. So I went back to our traditional ways, and I used that philosophy to guide me in the teachings of my elders and the support of people, and also a lot of support from my comrades, which really helped me a lot because we shared stories. A lot of comrades that came from World War One, two, I mean World War Two, Korea, Vietnam. You know, those wars, those elders have guided me through because their experience helped me. And so I listened to that and helped me to do what I needed to do. But also, I went to the VA and used that kind of logic, that kind of therapeutic logic, which really put into a lot of perspective and what was going on physically and mentally, in my body, my mind. So once I found out a lot of things that were happening, I took our philosophies and I combined it together, and I took the medicine from that and used it in my life, and then realized how powerful and how effective it was for me. So I wanted to share that kind of feeling with other veterans and other people with addictions and suicide tendencies, and kind of support as well as the homeless, because a lot of our veterans, a lot of people are homeless, not just our veterans, but a lot of people. So I went through that in my life as well. You know, in my history, I went through a lot of things in my life that the work that I'm doing, those were what I went through in my life, in my past, were my teachers. And so I take those teachings that I've been through in my life experiences, and I teach people that. And I decided to write this book, and I was kind of looking for guidance and help, and had some friends that were really helping me a lot in many ways. And they stepped up, and we wrote the book, and I put it down on. We recorded it. And, it took a long time to do this book. We went over it. I went over it many times with different people, with different friends, and got it to where I felt it was ready to go out. But it took a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice and a lot of commitment. That a lot of commitment that just, you got. If it wasn't for my commitment to stay in this way of life, this book would have never been written. So that's part of the book that has come out.
Wow. So this book is your way to pass on that healing experience that you've had in your own life, and all the wisdom and blessings that were bestowed on you. This is your way of giving that back, I think. Um, and in that perspective of, it's so true. You know, it's the thing of the willow tree that grows up in a greenhouse that's really weak, but the willow tree that grows up in the with the hurricane winds and the snowstorms and all that stuff that gets strong. And we wish it was another way that we could somehow magically get stronger without going through all those challenges, but that does seem to be that does seem to be the way. And it's really neat too, I think, that you have that perspective, especially as a veteran, as someone from Native community, that you bring that specific kind of perspective. And I know at the powwow that I was at, that there was, you know, a ceremony honoring the vets, and so, do you want to talk a little bit? So, just for everybody that's listening, we're talking with Doug Goodfeather, and talking specifically about his book that just came out in April, Think Indigenous, Native American Spirituality for a Modern World. And I put the link in the chat there. It looks, I'm not sure if it went through. I'm gonna post that again. Um, but I was wondering too, Doug, about your work with the Lakota Way, and then there's also Spirit Horse Nation. And I was wondering if you wanted to talk about one or both of those as well.
Lakota Way Healing Center um, came from the vision quest that I was on. And so that vision I brought down to the earth to make it realized. And so that's what's happening now with all the programs that I created in that Lakota Way Healing Center, the philosophies and teachings I implemented that. Also my education So I took the logic and the spiritual and I combined it together to make people give perspective to people that come that don't have that kind of thinking and belief, and just bring them through a process through the mind, the heart, the body, teach them how to connect with their spirit, their that energy that lives inside them, and to help it to flow better inside their life, inside their bodies, mind, to give balance inside themselves. So those that vision that I had, I brought it down. I brought songs down, stories down from that vision quest. So I put it into my, I implemented it into my life because that wasn't my purpose in my life. That wasn't what I wanted to do. At the beginning, I wanted to be an engineer or a lawyer, but I was going to structural engineer college school, and after the vision, everything changed. My whole life changed. My direction changed. My passion changed, and this is what I've been doing ever since because it instilled in me a passion that is so powerful, and that passion has knocked down barriers and walls and has given me the strength and the knowledge and the wisdom to do what I'm doing today. And so that's where that vision Lakota Way Healing Center came from. The reason why I call it Lakota Way Healing Center is because I'm a Lakota and I came from our ceremonies and our traditions, our culture, that language, that way of life. If it was something else that other tribes or other how it would have came, I would have it wouldn't be Lakota Way Healing Center. But the nonprofit called the Healing Group doing business as Lakota Way Healing Center. And the Healing Group is all of us, the whole world. And that's why I call it the Healing Group because we're all incorporated in that group. So when you come into that group, I call it the sacred movement. And in that sacred movement, it picks you up and guides you and helps you in your life. And with good teachers and good people that come are willing to help and work beside me. And because this way is not easy to really, it's not an easy life. And so a lot of people, it's hard for, I mean, people can be spiritual, but walking in it is a different thing as well. And so when you have a good guider, a good teacher, somebody who's guiding you in a good way, it can bring you through those things. It can guide you through it. And then from there, you take your free will and you live your life with those kind of teachings and implement it into your life to see the world in a different way. You know, when I used to be addicted to, I used to be a really bad alcoholic. I was homeless, and you know, when the way I saw the earth, the way I saw life was just a flat plane, just flat. But when I went into our sacred ceremonies, and one of them was called Escuela, when I went in there, I was something opened up in me in there. When I came out, the world wasn't flat to me anymore. It was brown. I saw it brown, and then it made more sense to me. Then everything started to line up, and things started to feel in me. But that healing process, you got to get a lot of things out. It's going to come through you, and that's where people give up because of what's coming out. It's got to come through you, through your mind, through your emotions, mental, your physical capacities. And so I use that. I mean, I use those teachings to help others. And the Spirit Horse Nation also came from a vision quest, a vision. It was a man in my dream that came. It was actually my great great grandpa. He came out of the clouds on a horse, and he was riding a. In the Lakota society, we call these horses spiritual horses, spirit horses. And he was riding a white horse and spotted the last spot all over it, like lightning bolts, hail on him. And so that's where that name came from because dreams and my ancestors and my elders have taught me and guided me in many ways. And that's where, because of those dreams and those guidances, I am where I am today. Because I went to many places to ask for guidance, and a lot of people turned me away, and I went through a lot of systematic issues and barriers because of my color of my skin and because of my last name. And when people see that, a lot of I get stereotypes. So I've been through a lot of struggles to get to where I'm at, and it was these ways, and it was the strength of what I was taught to keep moving through these construct blocks that were happening in my life. And so when I really live this life, it actually pushes barriers, it knocks down barriers, it pushes them out of the way because this is meant to happen. It's a process, purpose in my life that's meant to happen to help people in their life and to guide them into healing and for their life. Use it only in a free willing way. It's not to corrupt you or to manipulate you, fool you, make you a believer or follower. It's to help you. That's all it is supposed to do. It's to help you, guide you. And if you choose to walk and live in a spiritual way, it takes a lot of discipline and strength because that's a natural way to live, pure truth. In our history, in my past, I'm not a perfect person, made many mistakes. But if I live in those mistakes, then it's just going to hold me back. It's going to keep me stagnant and corrupted. And that's what you see all over the place in addiction. You see that. And then we blame each other. We blame others for our problems and our issues. When we have responsibility and accountability of our own life and our own actions and mistakes, let's make a choice to do something that's not good. And when we do that, it affects our lives. It just doesn't affect our lives, but it can affect our family, our community. So it's good when you bring this kind of spirituality, this kind of teaching and discipline, structure into people's lives that helps them and gives them a purpose. And I don't just use my philosophies. I use like the horse. I use the fire. I use the eagle. I use the wind. I use the rock that we put in the swella. They use the swella. They're all philosophers. The buffalo. We put a buffalo skull on the altar. There's a reason why I do that. As a philosopher, the buffalo is one of our greatest philosophers, one of our greatest teachers. And the fire. These are all teachers that I use. They have taught me how to be strong and to learn how to figure things out. It's like, when you start a fire, you got to figure it out how to do it. It's a windy day or rainy. You got to take time to do that. And that's what helped me as a teacher. That fire was my teacher. So, those are the things that I use to deal with nonprofit organizations. Here's organization for an activist nonprofit organization that gets involved and educates people through a keen way of living life in your life. And so that's how these things have come about in my life. And people have dreams all the time. They blow them off. And there's messages in them, there's teachers in those dreams that come. And I was taught to listen to them and always be aware of things. My grandma really implemented that, how to really look at things. And one of the things that she taught me, one of God's, the creator, one of the creator's greatest warriors are butterflies, dragonflies. So those are the things I implemented in my life. And people say, "Wow, this is weak and everything." It's not how you look at it, what it does in its life. And you be strong like that as well. And just a little simple butterfly, the power of it, the teaching, the philosophy behind it. That's what you got to look at. You got to look at that. That's true strength there. And you got to put that in your life. Everybody thinks beating up each other and having, fancy this and fancy that is they're on top of it. And then when we do that, we start to judge others because they don't have what you have. And the only thing that I believe is that if you're happy with yourself, if you're content in what you do in your life, and you take care of yourself, and you have good health, you eat right, meditate, you pray, physically take care of yourself, you're going to live a good life. You're going to be happy. And the things that you strengthen in your prayer and your meditation, you're going to see that fulfilling in people's lives. Wow. Because meditation and prayer, when it taught me to be mature, they help me think of others, to have compassion, teach me how to forgive and teach me how to help others that way. Because when you sit down and you think, it helps you to mature. And so those are the things I've learned. And so I take that medicine and I implement it in people's lives. And I call it good medicine because that's the way that I was taught. Good way to pass it on. You always reciprocate because you want everything to constantly flow and balance. Nothing's perfect, but those imperfections are features. We think it's hardships or they come into our lives to destroy us, but also our choices make those hardships come. So when those hardships come, learn how to think about them, figure them out. Depression, when depression comes, learn how to think about it, figure it out. And the only way to get through depression, to go through it, is learn why it's here. It's not depression isn't a bad thing because it's your body, your spirit, your heart, everything that's letting you know something's wrong. You need to take care of this and pushing it out, making awareness to be aware of what's going on. Because if you let it go, it's going to build up back on. It's just going to get worse. And then when you self-medicate, it just takes a turn for even worse. It affects everybody. It affects your whole family and everything like that. So all these things that I live and I use in my life, I use it to help people. That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, and I think your experiences, as you said, like having that direct experience with addiction and with experiencing homelessness, that gives you that and those insights into how what's not working with that thinking. And I could imagine that a lot of, as you said, like your comrades, like fellow vets in particular, that this is such a beautiful resource to have healing. So your book, to kind of explain what that process is and what you're getting at with that perspective, and the Lakota Way Healing Center, and then also Spirit Horse Nation as a way to be sharing that philosophy of the interconnectedness. And I think right now, especially, that before the pandemic, people were feeling disconnected anyhow, but this has really magnified how important connection is on our mental health, and so many things that we took for granted. Just hugging someone, seeing someone, when that was taken away, it's such a heartache, that I think that your perspective here is really timely for a lot of people, that are maybe going through mental health issues that have not really had that issue in the past before. So I think that's the other part of kind of this global pandemic, is a pandemic of depression and, this disconnection. And so your message of interconnectedness, and, of going back to some of these traditions and thinking of buffalo and fire and eagles as teachers, and did you say butterflies as warriors? That's so cool. We have Victoria here joining us from France, and she's working on a project to revitalize this, historic apiculture. So all this bee literature and bee research that was done for 100 years, and when she first saw a bee die off in Provence, that's kind of what spurred her. So I think it is that, any way that we can find the connections, um, and the passion, and for you, um, with the vision quest, kind of totally redirecting your life. I can understand. I always call myself a recovering engineer because I started in engineering and thought that I could just fix things, and realize now it's more about people and behavior change, and how do we as individuals find the strength to believe in our own ideas, and believe that there's better ways to do things and ways to work together, and how figuring all that out, that's the mysterious, magical, um, powerful path that we can be on for sure.
Yeah, my that kind of work, my scientific and mathematical work that I also implement that in my work, in my philosophy, and because I put spirituality and that logic together and show people how it works in their life, how they connect. A lot of people don't understand that, and so I get calls from engineers and lawyers and priests and rabbis, and they call me to challenge me, they call me to question me how this works and how you use it in your life, and so sometimes I debate with people who call me or want to talk about these things and um, how they're trying to analyze it for their fit in their life. And for me, it's a natural order. Everything's a natural order in the world. I mean, it has a natural order, but when we corrupt it, when we get in its way, it takes longer for this natural order to implement itself in our life. And because we live in a construct society, a Western society that has put this construct in our lives and really corrupted our peace in many ways, and it helped us in many ways, but not in a healthy way because look at the trail that we left in these things that have been invented, and we left a trail of trash. And now our children's got to pick that up unless we do it. But you see this mess in our political world. While they're fighting over here and living a good life, there's people over here that are poor and hungry and homeless and war torn. And so that's where I come in. This is where I come in here. And then when I come in here and teach these people and help them come out of the depression or whatever, you know, these are warriors that are being built, that are being made, that are being created to be a different thinker, a different philosopher, because you take them out of that construct and you put them into a natural healing process. And when that natural healing process happens, it's a sacred movement that's moving around you. And all of those have formulas on them. And people call it a sacred geometry, however you want to name it. But what we call it the Dakuwa Kashkashka, the sacred movement. And that's scientific. And if you look at it, and if you look at it in a scientific way, it's very scientific and mathematical and has a lot of equations in it that you can take and implement in your life and guide you and use those things to help you in your life and our connection between uh, a reality and spirituality. People get stuck there. And so I bring in quantum physics as well and use that implementation and that spirituality and reality connection because that's a conduit. It's the filter of our connection. It connects on both sides. With us all the time. Spirituality with us all the time. So when we're thinking only uh, of the things that we go through and we make it hard on ourselves and we constantly talk down to ourselves, put ourselves down that we're not this, we're not enough for that, we're not good enough for whoever. And others use that as well to take advantage of us. So these that kind of work that I do strengthening the mind and calling it self-actualization because you have to understand the power you have in yourself, the healing power you have in yourself as well. I think so. These are the things that I use implement in those people's lives to make them understand, help them to understand how important everything is in life and everything that we're connected to everybody. Because you could have a coworker or somebody that you know across the ocean, something happens to them, it's going to affect your peace, it's going to affect you somehow, and then that peace is going to affect others. Somebody's going to wonder what's wrong, what's going on. We're all connected. We're all pieces of each other's puzzle, and people don't realize how important that is. So when you see these things happening in the political world, it's really affecting the whole world. It's really affecting the people. It's affecting our healing process. And so when you see what we're realizing, what we're experiencing, the awakening of our spirituality, we're connecting. Sometimes people get frustrated, they get anxiety, they get computer bugs. It's just a new energy flowing into your life, and we're not used to that new energy because we're used to our old safe haven. Where a lot of times it's not healthy, but we feel safe and we feel comfortable, and we need to get out of our comfortableness and be uncomfortable so we can make changes in our lives. We can know our growth. We can see our purpose. And so that's the part of my culture, our Lakota ways, because we take ourselves out of our comfort zone, and we walk away from our luxuries. We implement ourselves into a hardship. And that hardship helps us to grow, breaks us free from stagnant, being stagnant, and breaks us free from the old us or the way we're thinking, and helps us to grow, like the butterfly. You're going through a cocoon, sweat lodge, or vision quest, whatever it is, when you're growing to be a new person, to new energy. So you grow into it and it helps you. But what's going on now is just being like came in and people are confused, got jitterbugs and losing it. They're getting so upset and fighting each other. This racism coming up, and it really it really confuses me, and it's kind of the way you see educated people going off the handle. And so these spiritual ways that I live, that I've been brought up with, help you with discipline like that. It teaches you how to be calm and that kind of stuff. Learn how to figure things out, learn how to go through it, yelling and screaming. And our people have been through so much, and but we're survivors. We're adaptable. We came in that spiritual intelligence that brought us through that. And so I take all of that teaching and got to implement it in people's lives, teach them that, help them to understand that.
Well, I can't wait to read the book. I mean, I normally would have read the book before the interview, but since it just came out, I didn't even have a chance to get it here and read it. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a beautiful and mysterious thing, this all of life, and the interconnectedness, but then also your, like you said, the self-actualization, figuring out ways to take responsibility for yourself and uh, and find the teachers and the practices that help you stay strong in the midst of all kind of the craziness, and yet being able to believe in yourself and believe that you were meant to have a really beautiful life, and that every day that you're good enough, and figuring out how to do all that is complicated. And so it's really neat to have these to have your book as a guide to bring us back to, here's the ways that people have been using for thousands of years, and this is a resource that we can use for. So back to your tagline of a guide for the modern world. So I'm so excited to be reading that. And I thank you so much, Doug, for joining us. And I have so many different questions for you, but I know that you just had a little bit of time about where you grew up and vision quests and so many things. So let's do another session. Maybe I'll have a chance to read the book, and we'll regroup in a couple of months and get you back on the podcast so we can talk more, because it's just been an awesome conversation. And I know we just have a few minutes today. So thank you so much for rearranging your schedule and everything to fit us in today. And I'm so thankful for the book and for your presence with us.
Yeah, there's another book coming out. So I was in my dream, I'm supposed to write 7 books in my life. Probably hopefully write more, but there's another one coming out. So I'm going to be writing. I'm just writing that one now. And happy, so the next book is on its way. It's gonna coincide with this one. So you just keep going.
What did you say? What is the focus of the next book? Did you say?
It's the mind, the heart.
Oh, cool. Awesome. All right. Well, this is great. Yeah. So I'm so excited to read the book, and we had a couple comments in there from Marie France and from Kyle. The book is incredible. The book is very inspiring. And Victoria from France saying thank you so much. So yeah, and her comment about for the generations to come. So it's really neat to be thinking about this combination of your ancestor coming down from the clouds on a horse to turn your life around and say, no, Doug, actually not, you're not going to do that. You're going to do this. And
you're going over here. My whole life.
Yeah. Well,
but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. And you're right. It's not easy because it is, you're kind of living against, I don't even want to call it flow, but like the whole cultural norms of consumption and all the values that are there, everything from food to whatever, it's a lot that's really kind of messed up, and to take a stance going another direction isn't easy, but it is really cool to think of the, buffalo and our ancestors and fire and all these teachers that are here and that are ready to help us. So excited about your book as a guide for doing that. So everybody check out, and you can give a contribution to support the Lakota Way Healing Center. Check out Spirit Horse Nation, and Doug's just holding up his book, Think Indigenous, and the subtitle is Native American Spirituality for a Modern World. You can get that from Hay House. And so I put that link in the chat, but we'll have all that stuff in the show notes as well. All right. Well, thanks so much, Doug. I'm glad we were able to do this today. Really appreciate everything that you do and that you are, and that you shared it all with us today.
And most of the proceeds are going to programs. So it's helping building the program, the healing center. It's going to be a physical place, and then it's in a building process right now. So this vision has brought everything that needs to be on this earth. It's amazing. And I look back and I'm like, how did that happen?
Right. Yeah, that's neat. Right. So the idea of you being given a vision much greater than you could have imagined for yourself, but those obstacles also being cleared for you and people coming into your path to help make it happen. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see. All right. So thanks so much, Doug. I know you're heading off on a drive, so drive safe. Thanks for being with us today. And everybody, next week we're going to be talking with herbalist Brigitte Mars and also with Bethy Lovelight. And the topic is get off your grass and create a garden. And so the idea is, what can you do with your lawn, and how can you change that over to being an edible creation? So that's the Get Off Your Grass next week with Brigitte Mars and Bethy Lovelight, and they've created some videos, some music, poems, articles, all kinds of ways to get that message across. All right, thanks a lot, Doug. Have a great day.
Okay,
Okay,
bye.
bye. Thanks, everybody. Bye.